always let your conscience be your guide.
Welcome back to the extended walkthrough for the North Star app. In the first extended walkthrough video, we took a look at the compass and the points in much more detail. And now in this second walkthrough video, we'll take a much more detailed look at groups and their role in the app, how they function, how they interact with other users, and the process by which an end user selects the groups that they choose to follow. And so, just like in the abridged walkthrough, we'll take a look at some of these groups and follow a few of them. So, a group is one of the most important aspects of the app. The way that the app works is that many different users can upload information about many different topics. And these users may not have the same idea in mind when they upload information about people or businesses or things. Or they may even have a completely different agenda for uploading that piece of information. And so because there's so much information about so many different things, there has to be a filter that filters out the information that the end user is not looking for and filters down to them the things that are relevant to their personal beliefs. And so that's where the group comes in. Groups advocate for causes that they believe in. They could be institutions or groups, nonprofits, they could be individuals. And their role in this app is to seek out information that other users have uploaded and find the most accurate and worthy information of passing down to the end users that are following them, and making that information accessible to the end user. And so when the group does their configuration of their account, they'll answer points just like the end user has, just like we have in the previous video. The difference is they'll probably want to answer not that many questions, maybe just a few points, and that's it. Because only end users that have the same point configuration as the group can follow them. I can only follow a group if that group has answered points in the same way that I have. I answered that I think it's not okay to cause intentional pain and suffering to animals. That means that if a group has answered this point in the same exact way, I can follow them. Otherwise, I cannot. This ensures that the groups that I'm following truly do have the same ideas at heart. They have the same moral beliefs, and so the information that they're passing down to me is consistent with my beliefs as well. So when North Star gives us a list in the beginning of groups like we see here, these are groups that have answered their points in the same way that we have. We can see other groups that maybe have not using the search tool, and we'll see that in just a moment. So as we choose groups, in the same way as our points count, our groups count will go up as well. Okay, so we have our groups count here, overall groups count, and then we have our overall groups count here in our header, so we can see that at all times. And when it comes to our point overlap, we'll take a look at that in just a moment. So in the last video, in the abridged walkthrough, we took a look at the pages for the Animal Justice Project and the World Wildlife Fund. So we'll do the same thing again. In theory, just like the same way that Twitter will verify their users, we will have an avenue in the functional app for verifying that groups are who they say they are. Animal Justice Project is a real animal rights advocacy group, and in order for them to verify, in order for a person who wants to follow this group to know that they've been verified through our app, we'll have this symbol here, and there will be a verification process on the back end for our team to make sure that this group is the legitimate group of this name. We can see in their information page some of the things that they believe in, what their mission statement is, and again, we have their website and their social media links here. And then just a few pictures that they've published that maybe reflect things that they believe in. Okay. We can see in this group's page the compass points that they've answered. So looks like Animal Justice Project has only answered 1 point, and it's that they don't think it's okay to cause intentional harm and suffering to animals. They have chosen not to address other points, either because it's not within the scope of their mission or because this is the most important to them. And as I explained before, that may be wise, because this way they'll have more end users that can possibly follow them. They're not weeding anyone out by answering additional points and risking not having a compatible compass with an end user. So this is the 1 point that they've chosen to answer. And as you may remember, they've answered it in the exact same way as we have, and that's why they're eligible for us to follow. And so we can see, let's just follow them, because we chose to do that before. So you can see our group count went up. Our group to point ratio increased, and this is something that I'll explain a bit later. And the last thing that we can take a look at is the stamps, the stamping that has been done by this group on the information that exists in the North Star database. And this is the nuts and bolts. This is the really what's going on under the hood to get information, to sort the information from the users down to the end user. We're not going to look at this in a lot of detail just yet, but we'll spend a separate video on navigating these bits of information and what the group's responsibility is in regards to the information. Okay, so we'll go back and we'll take a closer look at the groups again. We'll go back. There we go. So we're back to our group's main page, and we can see that we have one group. This group has points that pertain to animal rights, and so we can see how our count has increased there. And if we go to our groups tab to see what groups we have followed, we can see that Animal Justice Project has been added to this. Okay. So what if we want to look for a group, for example, PETA. PETA is not found on the list here. It's currently ordered in most followed. We can also order by most stamps or by point. But PETA is a pretty popular group. You would imagine that of all of the groups, that PETA would be in the top of the number of followers that they have. So what's going on? So let's take a look at the search tool and see if we can find PETA. As we're prompted here, you can also search for a group by typing their name. Even groups that have answered differently from you will appear here. We may not be able to follow them, but we can find them, and we can see information about them. So we search for PETA, and we get the group here. And we find that we're right. They had a lot more followers than the World Wildlife Fund. And they've answered 3 points, but one of the points that they've answered is in conflict to one of ours. So we can actually go to their page and check it out. So they've answered that it is not okay to kill animals for food. They've answered the other 2 points identically to us, but where we said it's okay to kill animals for food, PETA has said, no, it's not. And so we can't follow PETA because the way that they filter down information is not going to be compatible with the way that we've configured our compass and the way that we believe. So you can see we can't even follow the group. Okay, so let's go back. We want to take a look at the World Wildlife Fund again. And so we'll go back to our Eligible Groups tab, and we'll take a look at the World Wildlife Fund. And so again, we have some images that the group has uploaded that are relevant to their cause. And we have their mission statement, website, social media. We can take a look at their points, and they've answered 2, and they happen to be, by necessity, the same as what we've answered. That's why we can follow them. And then we have their stamps tab here as well. And again, we'll take a look at these stamps and these pieces of information at a later time. But for now, we'll follow this group. Okay, and you can see that we have 2 groups now. We've covered all of our points, and we go back to our groups. We have both listed here in our followed groups. Okay, so in the next video, what we're going to do is we'll briefly take a look at what this means to have our overlapping groups and points, and then we'll take a closer look at what it means to have pieces of information stamped by our groups.